Hey there, you want to know the 3 go-to exercises for your older clients with rotator cuff exercises? Well, this upright row, not one of them. Hey there, this is Dr. Evan Osar with Fitness Education Seminars, which is now Integrative Movement Institute. Hope you had a great holiday weekend if you celebrate Christmas. If you didn't, hope you're having a great start to your week and had a great weekend. This is the last week of 2021. I remember when 2020 ended, people posted, yeah, I can't wait for everything to go back to normal. Yeah, how'd that work out? Unfortunately, things are quite a bit different today than they were a few years ago. However, you are still in charge of what happens up here and the actions you take. And you're still responsible for your community, how you show up and serve for your community. So regardless of what's going on out there and all that noise out there, pay attention to your community. Pay attention to what's in here, pay attention to what you put inside here, pay attention to what you put out to your community. So speaking of community, thank you for being part of our community, the Integrative Movement System community. Now, many of our older clients have rotator cuff problems, tears, impingement. I was just working with a client this morning with rotator cuff impingement issues. Much deeper than that, we'll stick to very basic rotator cuff impingement. Now, one of the things that happens for a lot of our clients is they're doing exercises that actually don't help the rotator cuff. The primary function of the rotator cuff is what? Hello, Mary Trella, how are you? Happy Monday. Primary function of the rotator cuff is what? It's to stabilize the ball and socket joint. Give me a second, let me show you. Get Bucky out here. So, Bucky says, what up, community? Named Bucky after my dad. My dad's nickname was Bucky. I have no idea why his nickname was Bucky, but I miss him. He died a few years ago. Good man, very good man. So, rotator cuff. Lost my train of thought thinking about my father. All right, the rotator cuff. Rotator cuff stabilizes the ball, the glenoid fossa, with the ball, which is the humeral head. So the rotator cuff pulls the humeral head into the socket, into that glenoid fossa. And what it does is when we initiate overhead motion, regardless if you're going into flexion or abduction, what it does is it drops down, it depresses the humeral head so that it clears. So this bone here, let me pull Bucky up here a little bit closer. So that this bone here, the greater tubercle of the humerus, clears the underneath side of the acromion process, okay? Now, the other rotator cuff muscles, like the teres minor and infraspinatus, these guys back here, they will then externally rotate the humeral head so that the arm clears and it doesn't bang that greater tubercle up against the underside of the acromion process. Now, the challenge with a lot of our rotator cuff exercises are it creates so much stiffness of these muscles that it limits the rotation. One of the simple assessments, because remember, if you're not assessing, you're what? You're guessing. One of the simple assessments you need to do with your clients, or I recommend strongly that you do with your clients, is internal versus external rotation. We need about minimally 30 degrees. We can get away with 30 degrees. If your clients have less than that, which most of our older clients do, you will have problems. You need 30 degrees of internal rotation. Why is that? Because when we think about things we do in everyday life, we need to internally rotate to get the shoulders and the arms forward, to feed our face, to look at our phones, to work on our computers, to do all the things we need to do out here in everyday life without the shoulder coming here. Because yes, this is not a great position for the shoulder to be in. So simple, easy assessment. Just look at external rotation. You should have at least 90 degrees, and you see I have much more than 90 degrees. I have about 110, and then I have about, today's a good day, because I just worked on it. I have about 30 degrees of internal shoulder rotation. So you need at least 30 minimally. You're better off having 45. If we can get our clients closer, our older clients close to 30 degrees, they're good to go. Now, once you've done your soft tissue release to get your clients to have 30 degrees of internal, somewhere around 80 to 90 degrees of external, then you need to teach them how to use the rotator cuff. Remember, the rotator cuff is stabilization. So we don't want to do lots of heavy resistance training or lots of tons of repetitions into external or internal rotation. That's not training the muscles to do what they're actually designed to do, which is basically hold that humeral head in or upon the glenoid fossa. So we want to choose exercise patterns that position it appropriately and also train it. Our first, number one go-to exercise for training the rotator cuff is first teach the shoulders where to be. The health of the rotator cuff comes from stability of the scapula or the shoulder blade upon the rib cage. So first, teach your client how to get the scapula into the right position. Do your soft tissue release. One of the easiest and best patterns, you don't need a strap like this. This strap just works really well, just a standard stretching strap, is the band or strap pull apart. The nice thing about this is it helps align your client's shoulder in the right position. I like these loops because your client doesn't have to grab it. But if your client has to grab a towel, they can just use a towel. If they're at home, they don't have a strap like this, they can just grab a towel like this and hold the towel like this. So that's easy enough to modify this exercise pattern. So from here, it's just a small motion, as you can see, keeping the shoulders open and wide. I'm going to flip around, keep the shoulders open and wide as you slide the arms up, keeping constant tension on this band. So the goal is not to go out here. The goal is not to squeeze, retract, and or depress. The goal is to get the shoulders to go wider. You should have space between your arm and your upper body. So that's the goal, is to get the client to get the scapula in the right position, and this starts to train that isometric activity of the rotator cuff. Super simple, super easy to do. Use a towel and or strap. So that's exercise number one. Now, exercise number two. If you can attach a strap up high, and again, if you can't, then just figure out how to attach it somewhere, and then you can just kneel down so it's a little bit higher. The great thing about a high to low sort of attachment here is the ability to, you want the band, especially an elastic strap here, you want the strap to actually guide and help the motion upright. So it's really the same position as we just had, and then it's a motion up like this. So I'm going to grab the band. I'll show you first. I'm grabbing the band like this, and then I'm flipping around. So now I breathe in, and as I breathe out, arms go overhead. So breathing in, breathing out. It's basically the exact same band pull apart, and then arms go overhead. The strap, the elastic resistance band, or the resistance band, helps to guide my arms up overhead. My goal is to maintain this position right here. So another great exercise pattern. Almost all your clients will feel immediate changes in range of motion, overhead range of motion, as soon as you do that exercise. As well as you'll notice a difference in your rotation as well, even though you're not technically doing rotation. So number one, we have the band or strap pull apart. Number two, we have this sort of band resisted overhead motion. Again, using that same idea of keeping the shoulders open and wide. Now, third exercise are carry patterns. Carry patterns, you're like, well, that's not really a rotator cuff exercise. Remember, the goal or the objective or the responsibility of the rotator cuff muscles is to stabilize that humeral head, the ball inside the socket. Well, for some of our older clients, overhead motion isn't a great motion. All of our clients will carry things throughout the day, throughout their week. So we need to teach them how to carry. Well, also the cool thing about carry patterns is the grip. Your grip is directly related to the muscles, your hand and wrist muscles are directly connected to the shoulder muscles, just like the foot muscles are directly connected to the hip muscles. So the stronger and more able you are to grip something, the better your rotator cuff activates because of that sort of, it's called the law of irradiation. The contraction here irradiates through the more proximal joints, the elbow, as well as into the shoulder to activate the rotator cuff. If you actually grab somebody's hand, shake their hand, and you squeeze their hand, you'll feel their muscle. If you feel their muscle, you feel your own muscle, you'll feel your shoulder and rotator cuff activate when you actually grab somebody's hand or shake somebody's hand and squeeze. So do a carry pattern. The important thing with a carry pattern, however, is again, it's the idea of keeping that width in the shoulders. For a lot of our older clients, they're doing carry patterns with their trainer, with their coach, but they're allowing the shoulder to drop so far down that they're just compressing the shoulder down upon the rib cage. So you have to keep, you want to keep that shoulder, the scapula on top of the rib cage. Maintain a little bit of space so that the shoulder isn't getting pulled down and you're not just jamming the shoulder down. And you can see that big slope, and I can actually feel like can't move my neck. Here, I can move my neck, rotate my neck. There's no stress on my neck because the carry is being stabilized by my serratus and by the scapular stabilizers around the shoulder complex. It's not just being, the weight is not just hanging off my neck. So again, your neck is directly related to what happens at the shoulder as well. So protect the neck, keep your neck healthy and safe, and you'll have a more healthy shoulder, or healthier shoulder, and you'll have a more optimally functioning rotator cuff. Hope you enjoyed that video. 3 go-to exercises: band pull apart, the overhead resistance band, and carry patterns, regardless if your client can get their arm overhead or not. Great exercises to train the rotator cuff. Yeah, there's a time and place to do the internal, external rotation. However, these are 3 of the go-to patterns we use with our clients. It's what I use with my own shoulders. Rotator cuff tears, labral tears in both shoulders, years of chronic shoulder pain, doing all the traditional rehab exercises. These exercises were part of the regimen I came up with that I'm writing about in my brand new book, Corrective Exercise Solutions 2.0, which should be out in, or will be out, it's not should be, will be out in 2022. Hope you enjoyed that, and if you're looking for another resource or a resource to learn more about the anatomy of the rotator cuff, tie it into other muscles of the rotator cuff or the shoulder, like biceps. Biceps is actually a 5th rotator cuff muscle. The tricep also is a functional stabilizer of the shoulder complex, and all these muscles around the shoulder complex stabilize and work towards optimizing overhead motion. Check out 2 Anatomy Geeks, where my colleague Jill Leary and I created this series to help bring anatomy alive and teach you the importance of anatomy and, more importantly, how it applies to your assessments, your corrective exercises, and helping your clients do the things they need to, want to, and love to do. Whether their goal is to lift their grandchild, whether their goal is to shop and carry grocery bags for a period of time, whether their goal is to play tennis, golf, and all those activities they want to, this information you can apply directly to your clients' routines and, more importantly, what they want to do and accomplish in everyday life. So Mary will put the link next to this video, below it, wherever you're watching this video, so you learn more about that series. It's 3 modules. It's about 6-ish, 4 to 5 to 6 hours, closer to 6 hours of content covering the rotator cuff, shoulder muscles, and how they all work cohesively together to create optimal shoulder motion. We look forward to seeing you in 2 Anatomy Geeks. We got a brand new series starting this year as well, so that way you can be that specialist that helps your current clients and attracts more individuals that need, want, and will pay you for your expertise. Again, last week of 2021, make it a great week. Get real clear on what you want to accomplish in 2022. Get real clear on how you're going to go out there and serve and be a positive role model in your community, regardless of what's happening out there. And let's go make it a great day, a great week, and be that leader our communities need. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, put them below this video. I'll check them out later today and or tomorrow. Make it a great day. We'll talk to you soon.